Thank you very much for listening to this week's talk as we approach the festival of Succos, and we are dedicating our learning to the safe and speedy release of all of the hostages in Gaza and to the safety and success of all of the soldiers in the IDF. And as we are going towards the concluding festival of the Tishri cycle of the unique time of year, beginning with the last month of the previous year, Elul, and then Rosh Hashanah at the beginning of Tishri, followed by Yom Kippur, and crowned with the festival of Sukkot. This is something that we can fortify ourselves with because we are experiencing times of challenge, and sometimes we can feel the darkness. We can feel darkness in the fact that perhaps things that we have been praying so fervently for do not seem to have been answered. But I think that when we look at the messages of the Festival of Sukkot, this is something that can inspire us and encourage us to continue our mission, to continue all the possible efforts that we can make within our capabilities. And we're not all chayalim, and whatever we can do from our end, whether it's our prayers, our material help, the mitzvahs that we do, that we dedicate in the merit of the release of the hostages and the safety of the chayalim. These are things that we can do, and I think that the messages of the festival of Sukkot can help us, can inspire us, can help us keep our spirits up, which is such a vital part of being able to function. And the particular aspect of Sukkot that I want to focus on, which is really all-encompassing, because we'll go into the first days of the Chagim, one day in Israel, 2 days, Thursday and Friday in the diaspora, and then we go to Shabbos Chol Hamoed, and then we go towards the remaining days of Chol Hamoed, culminating in Hoshana Rabbah. And there is one aspect, one shall we say, perhaps less well known, perhaps not so widely observed mitzvah that might not seem so essential as part, if we compare to the Arba Minim, the 4 species, which is a mitzvah from the Torah. What I'm referring to is the custom of the Ushpizin. Now, Ushpizin means guests, and we invite special guests into our sukkah every single night. So we have 7 guests for 7 nights, and the 7 guests are the fathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and then there's a slightly different order according to the Ashkenazi custom. There we go, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Yosef, Moshe, Aaron, and David. Another version goes Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, David. So the one that we're using, I guess, follows the chronological order where Yosef follows Yaakov. And there is a special invitation, a special code formula that we use in the Machzah to invite these special guests in. And the point is that why is this something that we can get such a lot of encouragement from? So I think that if we look at each of the guests, the nobles that we're inviting, we can see that there are qualities that resonate, that speak to us at all times, but especially now. And another aspect of uplift is the question that we can ask: why don't we invite these special guests and any other festival? We have the festival of Pesach, we have the festival of Shavuos, perhaps not all 7, if there's only a shorter festival. But why do we have this custom particularly on Shavuos? So a very beautiful answer suggested by the Sfas Emes is that Sukkot is the sort of culmination, the crowning glory of the festivals of Tishri. We've had the intense spiritual boot camp, as it were, of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and we emerge from there. And even though these are very serious times of year, we are not down not down. We are hopeful. We are optimistic, and because we have this sense of we've tried and we are putting our confidence in Hashem, in our efforts, that we have worked very hard to get to this moment of Sukkot. And this is why we have the great privilege of being in the company of nobles. And our great leaders are our nobility, and they are our eternal nobility. And so when we are inviting them on the festival of Sukkot, we are acknowledging the feat that we have achieved of using the festivals of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur to their full capacity. And just reflecting on all of these guests that we are inviting, we'll start with Avraham Avinu. And Avraham Avinu is the quintessential trailblazer. Although we refer to him as Avraham Avinu, he's also called Avraham HaIvri. And Ivri means on the other side. And Avraham is on the other side of the world. He is establishing monotheism. He is weaning people off idolatrous practices, some of which involve sacrificing children to the particular idols. And so when we think, where do we get our genetic inheritance from? We have got this special guest of Avraham Avinu, who is the trailblazer, who lifts the world up from its idolatrous squalor and establishes a new way of life, a new way of thinking. And as we are dealing with the challenges that we face now, we can, even though sometimes we might feel isolated, we can remember that Avraham Avinu was also on the other side. But as long as you're on the right side, it doesn't matter if you're on the other side. And I think that this is the encouragement, this can be the message that Avraham Avinu gives to us this Sukkot as he steps into our Sukkah. And the next day, we will invite Yitzchak Avinu, Yitzchak our father. Yitzchak our father. And there is a very beautiful prayer that we say in the morning called Kabbalas Ol Malchus Shamayim, which is accepting the yoke of heaven. And we reference our fathers in this, and we talk about Yitzchak, who nekad al gabe hamizbeach, who was bound on the beams of the mizbeach. And when we think about Akedas Yitzchak, we think about the fact that Yitzchak Avinu was ready to, although the command was given to Avraham Avinu, Yitzchak Avinu was going to be on that pyre, on this particular mizbeach, on this altar. And with his restraint, with his inner strength, he quietly went along and was willing to follow the instructions as understood by Avraham Avinu, his father, and he did that. And we can see that our people continue this incredible tradition of great heroism. We look at our soldiers in the IDF who are jumping up, so many of them, just to be able to defend, to be able to help each other, to be able to protect Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael. And I think that we can really feel that Yitzchak Avinu, who was the original person who showed this particular quality, he is encouraging us. He has imbued us with his inner strength, with his reserve, and we are carrying on the tradition of Yitzchak Avinu. And I think as we continue down the line, I feel the presence of all of them. They add, each one joins the others who are already there. So on the third night, Yaakov Avinu, Yaakov our father, will join his father and his grandfather. And Yaakov Avinu is the original, the father of the nation of Bnei Yisrael. And with the 12 Shvatim, with the 12 tribes that he fathered, that he begins the nation of Israel. And although he spent years of his life outside the land of Israel. He was journeying back to the land of Israel. His sojourn outside the land of Israel was uh, in his mind that time that he had to spend in order to achieve to build up his family, to find the right wives for himself, and bring his family back eventually to the land of Israel. And he is also encouraging us on our journey as we become, as we find that we are rejoining our past, present, and future in the land of Israel. And even as we're under fire, literally at the moment, Yaakov Avinu is helping us, he is supporting us. His presence in our sukkah this year is telling us that we are doing the right thing. We need to have the courage of our convictions and hold steady. And with Hashem's help, we will overcome our enemies. And then, following the Ashkenazi order, we have Yosef. Yosef comes into our sukkah. Yosef, who was kidnapped by his brothers, and he was sold into slavery for decades, thinking that perhaps his father didn't care about him, unaware completely that, as far as we know, that his father was mourning his supposed demise, thinking that his brothers were just too happy to have him killed, whether by throwing him in the pit or by passing him on to certain merchants and not really caring about his fate at all. What would Yosef tell us as he survived that time in captivity, as he went on to rise up phoenix-like in a way to become this emblem of faith in Hashem in spite of all the trials and tribulations that he endured? He is inspiring us to have courage in this particular ordeal, and thinking particularly poignantly about those people who were kidnapped, like Yosef, and davening that our father Yosef should intercede on their behalf. And please God, we should be able to witness so soon the miracle that we are so desperate for, that please God, all of the hostages should be released and returned to their families. So let Yosef's presence in our sukkah this year help us and urge us on in our efforts to achieve this. And then Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe our teacher, who was the supreme leader of the Bnei Yisrael. We always refer to him as Moshe our teacher, Moshe Rabbeinu, and we say Moshe, Torah's Moshe. We talk about Torah's Moshe. It's the Torah of Hashem, yet we call it Torah's Moshe as well. And the trials and tribulations that Moshe Rabbeinu went through, he led the Jewish people out of the land of Egypt, Hashem's messenger, through the desert for 40 years, and then so desperate to enter the land of Israel, he can only look from the mountain and see it from a distance, and he has to be content with this view just before he dies. And he can encourage us, he can tell us that under Yehoshua, Bnei Yisrael went into the land of Israel and established their homeland under the umbrella of Hashem. And this is something that, as the descendants of Bnei Yisrael, we are doing the same thing. So Moshe Rabbeinu can give us encouragement, can help us appreciate the wonderful gift of Eretz Yisrael, that he was not privileged. Our greatest leader, our greatest teacher, was not privileged to do what we are able to do, to be in the land of Israel. And he is encouraging us, and he is helping us to be successful in our struggles against the enemies that we face. And then when we have the guest Aaron HaKohen, who was famous for his love of people, for his devotion and his going the extra mile to create peace between different arguing factions of the community. And he is the beacon of light that shows us the way that we can resolve our differences, because when we do that, it is with our unity that we are able to fight off every single enemy. When we are unified under the banner of Hashem, then we do not need to worry about external enemies. It is just when we have the divisions and we are letting these forces of internal strife bring us down, that is when our external enemies gain the upper hand. So the presence of Aaron HaKohen in our sukkah is giving us this message of unity, of resolving arguments, understanding that we can have different views, but still having this overall overarching love between us. And this is the message that we could hear perhaps Aaron HaKohen telling us this year. And finally, we have David HaMelech. And I think that when we think about David HaMelech and his life, and we remember David Melech Israel Chai v'Kayom, that again, in this time of challenge, in this time sometimes of feeling beleaguered and alone, we are able to repeat that pasuk, that verse. We are here, we are alive, we exist. David Melech Israel, we are his descendants. And I think especially we've mentioned Psalm 27, Tehillim, Perek Kaf Zayin, and we say LeDavid Hashem Ori V'Yishi. And this is a psalm written by David HaMelech. Hashem is my light and my salvation. And I think that as sometimes people refer to the events of last Simchas Torah as the Black Shabbos or a time of terrible darkness, and understandably because the challenges, the suffering was so extensive. But if we think about it, there is no such thing as darkness. Darkness is merely the absence of light. And when we bring the light of Hashem, LeDavid Hashem Ori V'Yishi, David HaMelech is giving us a message. Hashem is my light and my salvation. With Hashem as my light, knowing that Hashem is my salvation, the darkness does not exist. We can banish the darkness. And so I think when we contemplate this coming festival of Succos, when we think about our special visitors that we are going to invite every single night, imagine them in our sukkah, imagine them individually, imagine them standing together at the end of the 7-day Yom Tov and gaining all the encouragement from their lives, from what they are, how they continue to inspire us. This is something that will help us come through this period of time and go towards the fulfillment of the dream that, please God, we should celebrate in a rebuilt Beis HaMikdash with the coming of Mashiach speedily in our time. Wishing everybody Chag Sameach, and may that spread to every single dark place wherever people are suffering, that, please God, the light of Hashem should bring them the salvation that we are so desperately longing for. Thank you very much for listening.